What's up, guys? This is Dan Wilson, and you are listening to another episode of ddon Life. Tonight, joining us is Anthony Stefan, and he's bringing his stories about his recent trip, spontaneous trip to 7 different countries in Europe. He didn't even think he was going to go. And then a friend of his said, "Come on, you're going." He said, "Well, all right, I guess I'm going." So he booked the flight. He did it cheap. And he's ready to share his experience with us. Now, Anthony's going to be coming back every Monday. And we're going to call it Monday Fun Day. So is Anthony coming back every Monday?
You better believe it.
Right, guys, so here it is. New episode with Anthony Stefan.
It's important to travel as much as you can because, it defines who you are. It defines the reality around you, and it makes for a great adventure. When you're on your deathbed, when when you get old, when you're looking back at your life, are you going to say, well, I just kind of, stuck around in my same little town all my life? I mean, hey, if you made great relationships or had kids or, whatever, met the love of your life, that's great, and some people like that. But for me, when I'm old, I want to say I lived a hell of a life, and I traveled here and went here and went here. And, just this year, 2017, what are we, barely 2 months into the year? I've already I've already been to a handful of states, been to 7 countries. So, wow. And, we're getting ready to, our big trip is coming up. As a matter of fact, I cannot believe, but in 2 weeks, not this Monday, but next Monday, I will have already been flying out to the south, catching a ride with our crew down there, our friends. We're gonna hit up some states, hit up the Springs. I'm gonna see you in Sedona in just a day or two after that, and it's pretty exciting,
7 different mineral hot springs.
Yes, and you're gonna meet us down there too.
I hope so. I mean, that's the plan right now. Unless something gets skewed, then we will be in hot springs, mud baths.
Yes,
with our arms up on the edge.
Nice.
Yeah.
What day are you guys thinking of meeting us down there? That Wednesday?
Yeah, I think Wednesday.
Nice.
Bootsy said that she was going to want to dip out to Sedona Wednesday night and then just drive straight through during the night.
Oh, wow. Dip out to Sedona that Wednesday night.
Yeah. So we'll probably get to the hot springs Wednesday morning.
Oh, nice. Yeah. She's so I believe they're leaving Monday morning, and I'm going to be just an hour or two outside of Fayetteville where they're from, and I'm flying into Oklahoma, and our adventure begins.
Wow.
But that's just that's month 3. I've already traveled my ass off just the past, good Lord, just past a couple weeks, last week even, and the week before that. So Dan and I, we've been good friends for, like almost 6 years now, and we've been talking about traveling for a long time. I remember when I first went down to New Orleans, I tried to get him to come, but he couldn't make it, so our buddy Nick ended up coming. We had a great time. But Dan and I have been talking about going to Europe for a few years now, and we had been kind of putting it off and talking about it. Well, finally, I just kind of said, fuck it. And I made the trip out there.
Did it have anything to do with meeting you said you met some dude on the subway?
Yeah. So I was on my way to work one day, and I was actually running late, and I just randomly ran into this dude. Like, he's like talking to himself. First of all, he's up on the platform, and he's smoking a cigarette. And I'm just like, who is this guy? Yeah, I laugh because the guy cracks me up. But I'm just like, who is this guy mumbling to himself, talking about he's having a cigarette, and you're not supposed to smoke up on the platform. And he just doesn't give a crap. He's just like, whatever. So we start talking, and he gets real into politics. And to keep this as non-political as possible, him and I shared a lot of the same views, and we just kind of meshed. And I was running late for work, so I was like, well, we exchanged contact information. And then he ended up leaving. He lives out of the country. And he hit me up like a month or so later, maybe a month and a half, and he's like, hey, I'm going to Europe. You should come. And I'm like, yeah, I might, getting off work and having the money for it. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And coming closer to the holiday, I was like, yeah, I started getting kind of jazzed up about it. And I was like, all right. And, I really wanted to go. And then probably about a week beforehand, I kind of made the decision that I wasn't going to go. I was like, no, there's no way. I didn't buy plane tickets yet or whatever. So I just called him up a couple days before the trip. We were going to leave on Thursday. I called him on Monday. Or no, like Sunday. Sunday I called him and I was like, hey, I'm going to cancel. I can't make it. He's like, oh, come on, da-da-da-da-da. And he like really twisted my arm. I was like, all right. So I took a second look at plane tickets. I was like, holy shit. So I found round trip tickets out there for like less than $400 round trip. I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
So I met him. So I ended up, like, literally, I remember it was a Sunday. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I was like, let me see if I can get off work. So I had this employee party Monday, and I talked to two people, got my shifts covered. I was like, all right, shifts are covered. And I went and bought those plane tickets. And I was like, well, I guess this has happened. So I I fly into Iceland, and that was my layover. I was in Iceland for about maybe 6 hours or so. So I left, checked out the local scene a little bit, then went back. Mind you, just so you know, I'm in Europe and I don't have any service, no cell phone service, because it is pardon my French, it is a fucking cunt to get any fucking service out there. Because guess what? Depending on who you're with, they will literally take a huge cock and slam it up your ass and give you charges like out the wazoo.
Wow.
So I could not. So I basically had to just look around for Wi-Fi spots, which sadly enough they still screwed me over, and I got to call them this week and dispute some claims because I called them and it got this package deal, and I mean it sucks, man. So anyways. That was one of the biggest challenges about getting around was not having any service. It sucked. So I'm in Iceland for about 6 hours, and finally I fly into Copenhagen. We end up meeting at the airport, and we go to this place in Copenhagen called Christiana, which is really cool. My friend Luke actually told me about. And it's like a hippie little kind of community. And you can basically do whatever you want. You can drink, you can smoke pot, you can do whatever. Now it's not legal to smoke pot out there, but you can toke up, but it has to be within certain lines. So we end up doing that. We're there for a little bit, have a beer or two, and then it's funny because we end up walking around. And we started like talking to these chicks and just small talk and hanging out, and they told us where they were staying. We're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I didn't think anything of it. And then I'm like, so where are our plans to stay? He's like, I don't know. Look up Hostel World and we'll find something. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, because we're just like randomly. And the nice thing was I packed very light, which I've learned the art of packing extremely light. When we go to Sedona this year, you'll see, like, I pack so little now.
Really?
And I knew that I knew I would be super mobile. Like, dude, I packed the smallest book bag possible. I brought a very small, minimal amount of clothes, and that was it. And then one pair of jeans, enough socks and underwear and shirts to get me by. And sometimes I was double wearing clothes here and there, but I didn't want to have to end up spending, $50-$60 on one of these planes. Because if you have bigger luggage, it's not just a little carry-on, those charges. So I was also on a mission not only to travel, but to save as much money as possible. So now we're in Copenhagen. No, by the way, this is all just... Normally, if you're going to go to Europe or go travel, and I'm the type of person where I plan for shit. Like, the Sedona trip, we've been planning for, 7, 8, 9 months.
And it's built on previous trips.
Exactly. So we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
So this time around, there was literally no planning whatsoever. It was literally on a whim. It was like, okay, plane tickets are cheap. Okay, cool. So I literally get out there, and I don't think I told you the details of this trip yet. I think this is all live.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of this.
So now we're in Europe, and we're in Copenhagen, and I go to Hostel World, and I'm like, and I brought enough money. I knew how much I would have to bring. I brought way more than I would need, just in case. And dude, this hostel was I think it was 15. No, it was it was 18 euros, which came to being with the exchange rate, it was $23 or something like that. So, and you think a hostel, and everybody I tell, it's like you talk about hostel, they think of this super dingy, spooky old fat guy at the desk. What do you want? Hostel? Okay. And you go in, and a bunch of people you don't know, and it's all run down. And no, not at all. I stayed in. Let's see. I stayed in hostels in almost every country I went to. And man, let me tell you what, they were cheap and they were nice.
Really?
They had pools. Oh, dude, they had pools. You go in, there's this lounge area, there's a bar, everybody's young, it's friendly atmosphere. You've got young college kids, traveling from all over the place. People are just friendly, they're nice. You've got a mixture of people from all over the world that are staying. I made a lot of friends on this trip, which was really cool. So I stayed in Copenhagen for a couple days, and then it was funny because we ended up partying. It was Copenhagen. And what's funny about Copenhagen, and there's a few things I'll mention, it's a lot so first of all, it's expensive as hell. They use these things called krones, and they're 7 krones to $1, I believe. But everything was super expensive. It was literally more expensive. Drinks and food were more expensive than places in Manhattan. I went for, a beer was 50, 60 krones. A sandwich was at least, 40 or 50. I remember I went into one place and I got a Maker's Mark on the rocks. It was 85 krones. So it was overpriced. But the thing I liked about just Copenhagen or Europe in general was the fact that you could walk into a 7-Eleven or a bodega. Now in New York, there's a lot more health-oriented little spots, But if you walk into a gas station or a bodega, typically you're gonna see, Mountain Dew, Cheetos, Snickers, a bunch of junk food. Not in Europe. Every bodega I went into, every place, it was nice. I don't have to sift through and look through all this, junk food just to find a healthy option. There were healthy options just everywhere. It was nothing but healthy options,
Oh, wow.
Pita rolls and nuts and kind bars and freshly juiced, squeezed vegetable juices and just everywhere, man. It was just nothing but healthy. And the thing is I get skin rashes I fight it a lot because I'm like allergic to a lot of foods, and I've been testing out what foods I'm allergic to. So I stopped doing gluten. I stopped doing a lot of dairy. But let me tell you something, dude. My skin was so clear while I was out there, and I ate lots of bread because there was just bread everywhere. It was impossible to get away from bread. I ate meat, I ate cheese, I ate all kinds of stuff, and I realized that the food out there, it's not genetically modified. It doesn't have all this crap in it that here has. So the food out there, just in general, even while I was traveling, was just a lot more healthier, and I felt really good. I didn't once get sick, and yeah, so I was in Copenhagen for a couple days, made a lot of friends, went to some studio parties, met people, saw a lot of interesting things. I guess if we have a podcast later on, I can tell you about some really crazy stuff I saw, but
We can do Euro Part 2. We have
yeah.
many
I will
weeks
mention
ahead.
one thing that was interesting. I was talking to some locals, and it was right after that. It was right after what happened in Berlin with that, with the car going into the thing, whatever. And
Yeah.
some people were telling me how sad it was that now in Copenhagen they have roadblocks everywhere to keep from that happening, to keep from someone getting into a car and deciding to plow into a bunch of
Oh,
tourists.
wow.
Yeah, and I did while we were walking. Oh yeah, so the thing is it's a lot like the only two cities that don't have last call, and it's major cities would be like New Orleans and Vegas, right? There's no last call. So it's interesting because you could go into a 7-Eleven. I remember we were with some friends. We go in, buy beers, you crack them open in the store, and just walk out with them. Nobody cares. There's nothing. It's not illegal to walk around with alcohol, but did have some guys yell at me and the group I was with, and they said stuff like, Sharia law in Denmark, and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
You actually encountered that?
I did, and I was just like, really, like, and I asked the group, I was like, what do you guys think of that? And they were like, But you know what? That's a whole other subject. But anyway, so I was in Copenhagen up until around Monday. My friend ended up leaving. We got plane tickets in. I ended up oversleeping, and I missed my plane. So I said, "Fuck it." I took a bus, and I found this bus called Flixbus. It takes you around Europe, and to get from country to country, it was like, I mean, it was cheap. First of all, these buses were really nice. I take buses everywhere, all over the country, and like I take this Chinatown bus from New York to my hometown lots of times when I'm traveling, and it's a small bus. These buses were huge, and they were nice, and they only cost like, to get from like Copenhagen to Berlin was like 18 euro. So I got to Berlin, spent some time in Berlin, saw a crazy fight break out. I wasn't in Berlin really very long at all because I was going to go and visit our friend Tobias, who was like 736, I think. No, he was after me, so he might have been 738. But you remember him. It was the year I first went up to Belgium.
Oh, Tobias. Yeah,
He
I
lives
didn't
in
even know
Berlin.
you saw him. Did you end up seeing him?
No, I didn't get to see him because I wasn't in Berlin long enough.
Ah.
So, but I ended up leaving Berlin, slept on a bus, and I decided last minute, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to Paris. So my friend, we were gonna go to Copenhagen, Berlin, and then Amsterdam, and I said, you know what, I've got an extra day or two, I'm gonna go to Paris. So I jumped on another bus. It was like 24 euro, and I went to Paris. Got to Paris about 5 p.m., and my bus didn't have a charger on it. So I was at like maybe 10%. So I'm rationing. So first of all, I'm rationing my battery energy, right? I've got no service. I can only use Wi-Fi. I can only piggyback on Wi-Fi, which I used on the bus. So I ended up finding a really nice hostel online while I was on the bus for one in Paris. So I get to Paris, and I've got I've got my hostel reserved. I'm only at about 10%. I spent all my euros, so I've got to now go find a place to exchange for euros. So I take a picture of the arc, the arch in Paris. I take a picture of it. Boom, my phone dies. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So now I've got no phone. Only got US dollars. I don't have any euros or anything. I don't know exactly where my charger's at. I'm like, this fucking sucks. You know, I'm in a foreign country. You know, I spoke enough German and French to get by, you know, but luckily most people knew English. But yeah, I was fucked at that point. I mean, imagine, dude, you're in a foreign country, your phone's now dead. You've got to walk like 2 miles to get to your hostel. You don't exactly remember where it's at. What do you do? I'm asking you.
Wow,
what
dude.
Do you do? You want to know what I did? I literally go, oh, well, this is an interesting level in the video game. And I just started kind of laughing. I was like, this will be an interesting story for later. I said that in my head. I was like, this will be an interesting story for later. I was like, let's see how we can overcome this. So I ended up going up to a guy at a bodega. And first of all, I'm walking around like the city just looking for I'm looking for a like a plug, you know, what do they call it? I'm looking for an outlet just to plug my stuff in, you know. So finally I go up to a bodega. I was like, listen. I was like, bonjour. I was like, and I just started going to English. I was like, listen. I was like, I'm a tourist. I was like, I'll buy a couple things. I was like, my phone's dead. I don't know where I'm at. I got to get money. I was like, I'll buy stuff, but can you charge my phone for a little bit? He's like, yeah, you know, sure. So he charges my phone. So I finally found a place to get a little food, bought some wine, and then got myself. I think I talked to you while I was in Europe, while I was in my hostel. I think I texted you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so charged up my phone, took a cab, went to my hostel. I was good. So went in there. I didn't have any guests with me, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
So I just took a nice little, you know, I went to sleep. I'll sleep around 11. Woke up at 8:30. Oh, the other thing that was great about those hostels was not only are you spending like $15, $16, $17 a night for a hostel, but you also get a free buffet in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So you can just stuff yourself. Like I would literally stuff myself so hard that I would just be good. I knew I wouldn't need to eat anything until that night, depending on where I was going. So because you know, I've learned how to fast, and you know, I can, you know, I'll fast for, you know, 16, 17 hours, and I'll eat giant meals, which just sustain me for, you know, a long period. I mean, you do the same thing if it makes you rip. So, but it's also nice because you can eat a lot. You can take advantage of a big buffet and put away like, you know, 3, 4, 5 plates and be really good till later in the evening. So, but yeah, so France was great. I ended up the only complaint I had was the breakfast at my hostel, because it was nothing but croissants and croissants and bread, nothing else. I mean, and orange juice. It sucked. There were no eggs. There was nothing else. Literally no cereal, no yogurt, nothing, nada, butter and bread. But anyways. So I ended up going to the pyramid. I got scammed the first time, by the way. I got a scam. So these women, they'll come up to you and they'll say, hi, you speak English? You're like, yeah. And of course, you know, being a tourist, you're all like, oh, other people, they're engaging me and talking. Well, they're like, sign this petition. I was like, okay, what is it? And you're just like, okay, you're signing it. To help deaf people. Okay, you're signed the petition. And they're like, you must 10 euro. And I'm like, I don't have 10 euro. So I was like, I gave them like 5 euro, whatever. But anyways, they go around the they're usually hanging around the touristy spots and get tourists to sign their petition, quote unquote. It's a scam, and they take money from you or whatever. It was a scam. And then they tried to get me again when I was at the Eiffel Tower. I was like, nope. So it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm at the pyramid, and now I'm going to walk. I've got no service. I'm going to walk all the way to the Eiffel Tower. So I walked all the way to the Eiffel Tower. I was just on cloud nine, man. I've always wanted to go to France ever since I was a little kid. Like, I've always just been obsessed with the Eiffel Tower. I'd always thought it was super cool. So I finally get to the Eiffel Tower probably around maybe, I would say, almost noon. Yeah, about noon. Now, keep in mind, I've got to catch a bus to Amsterdam at 1:50, and it would get me there by that night. So I had to get to the bus stop by 1:50. So I get there, and I'm like, you know what? I got to get to the top. So I'm like, okay. So I go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Finally, I made friends with some chicks from New Zealand, and I finally get up to the top. I'm at the top for literally maybe 10 minutes. Actually, no, about 5 minutes, because I wanted to catch the next elevator down. Took a bunch of pictures, ran all the way the hell down, then finally was running out. And because there's such heightened security around the Eiffel Tower, I had a hostel lock and like a razor and some other stuff. I had to go hide in a stump somewhere. So I finally, by literally the skin of my teeth, I finally got to the bus. I found a bus driver at 1:35. I was like, can you get me here to bus? So I get there with 5 minutes to spare, and I'm on my way to Amsterdam. So next thing you know, I'm in Amsterdam. I'm walking through the red light. I'm calling my friend. Finally meet up with him. We end up checking into this other hostel. Go there, stayed there 2 nights. So that was in Amsterdam. Amsterdam was a lot of fun. I didn't really party or anything too crazy like that. It was really just trying to get around and just seeing the country and making friends. And then the last night, I made friends with this other guy who, we have a bunch of mutual friends. So he was this guy from London. So next time I go, we've got different places we can stay and stuff like that. But even
so you met a guy with mutual friends on Facebook?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was in one of my live videos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it the one at the table where you're playing drinking games?
Yes. Yep, that was it.
Was he the mega? The guy with the mega hat?
No, that was the guy I was with. It was the other guy.
Oh, got it. Got it.
So basically, it was a great trip. On my way back, which funny enough, the day I flew back, I was gone the last week of Obama's presidency, which I thought was kind of funny. So the day I flew in, I flew into Portugal for a couple hours, and from Portugal I watched Trump's inauguration, and then boarded my plane and got back to the U.S. that night. So I was gone a total of 7 days, about 7 or 8 days, and I visited 7 countries. I was in Iceland, Denmark, Germany, France, and then went through was it Belgium, and then the Netherlands and Portugal.
Wow, dude.
So it was great, but you know what it taught me? That you can pretty much, how you see people try. First of all, I spent maybe $1,000 to $1,100. That was everything, because the hostels, getting around was so cheap. The food not so cheap. That's pretty much what I spent. That's pretty much what a lot of my money went towards, was food. I didn't even really drink that much while I was out there. But yeah, I found that it's really simple to travel and get around the world, and especially with apps and living in the digital world. And it's really easy to get through, and you make a lot of cool friends.
Well, I can't wait till we start our world tour as we have planned. And at least, 14 days from now, you and I will be at the top of whatever, many different things. And
oh yeah, oh yes, and like I said, we've got to push the envelope.
Push the envelope. But before that, we will soak in 7 different mineral hot springs, including a mud bath.
Oh, speaking of which, speaking of soaking and traveling, and then, of course, last week, because literally right after we finished that podcast, I had to finish doing a little cleaning, packing, and then I went to Florida. That was my nice little Valentine's Day gift. And I spent some time in Tampa and Siesta Keys. So I got to see my aunt and made some friends and hung out with friends. And that was a pretty cheap trip as well. And now I'm back in New York, getting some shit together, trying to freaking what I was going to tell you is, so I rushed to get back tonight because I'm going to sublet my room while I'm gone. I'm going to be gone almost a month. So, because I'm going back home next week. It's my grandpa's birthday. I want to see my lady, all that good stuff. And then I'll be flying out down to Oklahoma and out to Sedona the following week. So I'm pretty much going to be gone a full month. So this freaking subletter just stood my ass up. I fucking made my way all the... Dude, I busted my ass to get everything cleaned early. So, but everything happens for a reason. So while we were getting kind of... while we were getting everything together for this podcast, I had to take the old post down and I put it up for a cheaper price. So hopefully I get... hopefully I can get my room subletted.
So that's what you were talking about, the shit that pissed you off. Yeah.
Pissed.
That's brutal.
I went out of my way. It was brutal strudel. So,
Craigslist. That's a Craigslist. Brutal. All right, man. Well, fuck yes. Great.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to hear that because I hadn't heard that story yet.
But yeah, so the moral of the story is travel. Don't be afraid. Do things.
And you can do it cheap. Use apps.
Yeah, you can do it cheap. You can use the apps.
But it seemed like you weren't going to do this trip, but you got a little help from a friend.
I got a little help.
Gave you a little nudge.
A little nudge, exactly. I literally was not going to do it.
Wow.
I had no intention of doing it. And finally, I just said, fuck it, and I did.
Well, there it is. All right, man. I think this is a great place to wrap it up. We're at about...
It's almost 11:11 your time.
Oh, shit. Should we just wait?
I think we should. We got 1, 2... Yeah, we've got like 4 more minutes.
You better believe it.
On 11:11. So that was the adventure. And more adventures to come. We've got some big plans, and I think when we get out to Sedona, we need to do podcast. We need to do a joint podcast every day.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm
going to talk about our adventures.
We will. I really want to do podcasts when we're in sticky situations.
Yeah.
Like if we get into a situation.
How about we do it like we'll get up to the top of we'll get up like, man, well, we're here and we just got to, we should do it when we get, I like it in sticky situations.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a good way to go. And we're going to be around a lot of people.
Exactly. So we can interview. We can get a lot of people on the show.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, with our phones, dude, I make podcasts with my phone. Like, I just talk into the speaker, and it sounds pretty good. So you can literally do a podcast with anyone at any time if you have a phone.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing it on your phone right now?
No, I got a mic plugged in. But like I was saying, for some reason, my the headphone jack into my computer doesn't work, except when I'm in GarageBand. So, like, if I'm talking to you on Skype on my computer, I have to I can't use headphones, so it's just playing on the speaker. That's why I hope the audio came out okay, and I hope it doesn't echo. But if it did, I'm not going to cut this at all. I'm not going to cut our conversation at all.
I think it was good. And what's the time on here? I think
we're approaching like 30. We're at 35 minutes, so we'll be 36 minutes.
Nice.
In a bit. But
nice.
What was I going to ask you? So Wednesday, I will see you Wednesday on the 8th or something.
Yeah. March 8th. I will see you then.
I can get you some brownie portal.
Oh, that'd be great.
Because we're
going
going
to eat one as soon as I get off the phone here.
We're taking a little detour on our way to New Mexico. We're going to make a stop. So if you're interested in anything that you need.
Oh, I think I will.
You can let me know.
I will tell you about that. Yeah. Very good. Well, listen, it is about to be 11:11 your time.
And we will stop this episode at 11. All right, there it is.
There it is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Another week of Monday Fun Day on Tuesday.
Monday Fun Day!
But it is Monday Fun Day. From, most Mondays it'll be Monday Fun Day. This week, no big deal. Either way,
all right.
Once a week.
Crank that shit out, my friend. Post it. And we'll see y'all next week. And tune in every day for this main.
Anthony, I want to thank you again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'll see you.
All right. Later
bro.